Hi, it's Leisha with Hope Cancer Resources, and today is Wellness Wednesday. We are going to go over part 2 of the series we were talking about last time. If you live with someone and one person is quitting and the other person may not be ready to make that commitment to quit. Today we're going to focus on if you are the individual that is quitting, how to navigate that, how to maybe have those conversations with the other person that is not ready to quit, and kind of go through that process of quitting tobacco. So I've mentioned this before, but communication really is the first key. And with this, really what I mean is giving details to the other person that you live with. So this may be, when you're planning to quit. Is it a actual quit date? Are you going to start nicotine replacements at a certain time or certain day? So it doesn't have to be every little detail, but just giving them a heads up on what you're doing, when you're starting. And this is not necessarily just for the other person, so they have a heads up. It's actually really more for you. Number one, it does hold you a little bit more accountable to your plan. But I think the most important thing I always think around this is if you've ever had a friend that you may see out somewhere or on social media and you're like, yeah, let's meet up or let's get together next week, but you don't set a time or you don't make any actual plans, it's less likely that it's going to happen. So in the same regards, you making that plan, verbalizing it to the other person is really more for you to stick to it and have that accountability. The next thing is asking for their support. I've mentioned this before as well, but asking them for support through the process, and this may be specific details that you may have in mind that you would like them to help you with. Along with that, not relying fully on this individual in your quit plan. And I say that just because there are times that people do motivate you or you have certain motivations to quit, but you don't want to have all your whole quit be reliant on this other person. Sometimes people will say like, well, I can't quit until this happens, or this person does this, or they quit. Obviously, we don't have control over everyone else. So just making sure that you are realistic in what that may be with the other individual and what that support needs to look like. The next thing is being able to change some of those routines that you may have throughout the day. And this will also be important for the other person that you live with to know these things. So it might be, hey, I know on the weekends when we go get groceries, we're both used to smoking in the vehicle. So now when we go and get groceries, I'm not allowing smoking in my vehicle, or whatever that may be. So just setting some of those, I guess it could be boundaries with that person, but just letting them know, hey, these are some of the routines that I'm changing, and I just may need your support through this during this time or during this, whatever our typical routine may be. The next thing is it may be having to avoid certain triggers. So as we had talked about before, triggers can be people, it can be places, it can be environments, obviously it can be emotional things as well. But just knowing that you may have to avoid certain people, you may have to avoid certain places or different environments. So the person that you live with may need to know, what those things or places or environments may be. So it's good to give them heads up, like, hey, for example, it could be in the evening time after dinner, we normally watch one of our shows on TV, and we both tend to smoke during this time because that's a trigger for me, and I know that that's when I'm going to want to smoke. I'm going to avoid that. So just so you know, this first week, instead of watching TV with you, I may be going and watching it in my room or someplace separate, or just avoiding that. So just letting the other person know so they kind of know what to expect and know that you may not be with them 100% of the time if they are smoking. Last thing is just take it one day at a time. It is difficult when you're living with someone else and they are still smoking, especially if you smell it on them or see them smoking. And just know that one day at a time is all it takes, just living in that day in the present. And if you make a mistake, it's okay. You can start over the next day and just not giving up. I hope these tips help you navigate some of that and just make it a little bit smoother process as you try to quit smoking.